All right, after our triumphant return a few weeks ago with 4 or 5 members of the pod and an hour and a half of content, um, we're back to kind of the same old here. So, your regular hosts, the Vikings, the Broncos, and the Eagles, are on, and we're making up some content in a fun, different way to talk about the same things over and over again in the off season. So, hopefully, you guys enjoy it. But in the meantime, we're going to take an idea from like The Ringer and some of these other shows on there that say, hey, let's just open up the trade machine and come up with some fun ideas that make a little bit of sense. So, um, what we've been doing is we put together a couple of ideas. They don't involve our teams because, very simple way to put this, if you have a deal that you think is fair and you like the look of, you should probably just offer it instead of talking about it on a podcast. So that's what we're doing here. Might have a couple folks join throughout the discussion to add to it, talk about some trades at the end, but it should be a good time. But after a minute of talking, I'll open things up to Bill and RJ. Bill, how we doing?
Good. Just another Tuesday in July.
Yeah, I. This is not a bragger. I'm a bragger or anything like that. I drive a Model 3, and one of the features on it is air conditions itself just to keep the interior from overheating. Problem is, it drained 10% of my battery because it was overheating in July in a parking lot, which is kind of a pain in the butt. So I'm happy for summer, but I'd like my battery not to drain as fast.
Right.
RJ, how we doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I've I don't know. I'm in Florida, so like we've basically been melting for the past 3 months. So it's been hot and no change here.
Not gonna lie, did some work in Cape Canaveral for a couple of years. Summer there, just being outside was basically like drinking air. It's no longer breathing; you're drinking your air.
Yeah. Oh, it's terrible. You feel like you're being waterboarded.
Yep. So hey, it's a great thing if you're near one of the coasts and get the breeze and the benefit of the beach. But central interior Florida of America's Wang, not so much. But nonetheless, enough of the pleasantries. Let's get to the fun here. So we'll rotate, between the three of us, some ideas of what trades we came up with, why we came up with them, and kind of the general content of it, and then we'll leave it open for folks to comment back. I'll try and get these down on a Google sheet and post these to the message board afterwards. But you'll get to see what the trades are. But for the real meat of it, the breakdown, the analysis, the reason you guys turned it in the first place, that's why we listen to the pod. But I don't know, Bill. What do you think? Why don't you start us off?
Okay. So I'll go first here with a deal that it has room to wiggle with. I did not get to the salary cap implications of it. It does fit generally. I just don't know what the change is in particular. But I was thinking about the Dolphins and the 49ers. So actually, I apologize. It's the Dolphins and the Ravens. I was looking at the wrong page. My bad. But I was looking at this and I was saying, okay, what do the Dolphins need? And the biggest thing that sticks out to me is they have no tight end, at least to speak of. So go to the Ravens, who just gave up their RB1 in a prior deal, which we'll discuss later in the show, and offer Devin Singletary and Ernest Jones, who is literally his only name on the trade block right now, and get back Zach Ertz and Dietrich Wise, because the Ravens have a choice between tight end Zach Ertz or Taysom Hill. Ertz fits this cap space. Fits the cap space situation, and Dietrich Wise would allow the Dolphins to also get additional depth at defensive end, which he has one actual name at.
Interesting. So I've been trying to follow things, but obviously I miss stuff sometimes. does Ertz have is he still with Arizona or?
Arizona, yep. And there is projection about how much of the season he misses. Like all of it, half of it, none of it even. Like there were recent reports that he's going to be fine for week 1, but might be on snap count. But I mean, at the end of the day, he's going to be on snap count anyway. But he's still viable. He's just a very expensive, question mark.
I almost wonder if this might work better with Hill instead, but
Well, it has more appeal with Hill. It's just a question of what do you do to make that appealing? Because Ravens isn't just going to give up his only tight end for nothing, and he doesn't have Dolphins doesn't have a running back that fits, and linebacker fits, but I'm not going to give up Taysom Hill for Cody Barton. You know what I mean?
Yep. Just trying to look back here. I think Dolphins acquired Singletary either this year or in last
year. This year.
Okay, so 300 Dolphins and trades. What was the compensation for that? And I think that was last league year. So let's roll back to that page here because I'm curious what he gave up to get Singletary in the first place, because that's
I feel like it was a 2.
So it was I'm looking here. Where's didn't he just give I'm losing my mind here, I feel like. Didn't he just get him in the offseason from the Falcons?
Yeah. He just acquired him last cycle. I don't know
what player are we talking about?
Singletary.
Because search for him and I'm not seeing him.
I don't think Devin was ever on the Falcons.
All right, I thought he was there. Okay, never mind. That's what happens when I misremember things, and that's why I'm not a professional podcaster. Nonetheless, so all right, so interesting idea. RJ, what do you think of that valuation of Singletary and Ernest Jones for Zach Ertz and Dietrich Wise?
I think that's fine. Nothing, no players are really crazy valuable or anything like that. So it seems like a fine move, as long as the cap space works and nobody's getting some awful contract.
Yeah. Chris, what do you think?
Agreed.
You know what? You try and bring the person into the conversation after they join, and they don't actually chime in. But
no gardening again.
It is what it is. I mean, look, my only hesitation, I like the concept. My only hesitation is Ertz is injured. Not sure when he comes back. He's got to share the field with McBride when he comes back. And God knows who's his quarterback. If I'm going hunting for a tight end and I have championship aspirations, I'm probably aiming higher than Ertz if I can. But to your point, Bill, teams aren't necessarily giving up those players for Singletary and Dietrich Wise, or Singletary and Ernest Jones here. So it may be, get one on the cheap because it's the best you can get for cheap.
Yeah.
All right, RJ. Let's see what tickled your fancy.
All right. First one that came to mind was a trade involving Bill and the Bills.
Oh, okay.
Tony Pollard and Cam Jordan for James Conner and TJ Watt.
I think he likes Pollard far too much.
Tony Pollard and Cam Jordan.
16 and $6 million, respectively, and James Conner and TJ Watt, 8 and $13 million.
James Conner.
Yeah, I don't hate that.
I think TJ Watt at this point is one of the premium defensive assets. And he greatly outweighs an aging Cam Jordan's value.
Right.
And that just about makes up with the value gap between two starting running backs in the NFL. Sure, Connor's a little bit older, but that's fine. He's still productive. And Tony Pollard, as much as I'm a huge fan of him, his leg fell apart last year. So we still need to see what he's going to be. So, like, sure, he may be regarded as like one of the more top tier running backs, but he's like the lower end of that top tier because he is injured right now, or at least there's a question mark.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That is spicy. My gut says if I'm the Bills, I probably want a little bit more in that, just because offense for if I'm talking the best pieces in the deal, offense is getting traded for defense. So if I'm giving up the offense, I want probably a little bit more back. But I like the general structure and the concept of it is right on.
Yep, seems pretty fitting. Conveniently enough, a handful of the trades that I will discuss will probably all be relatively similar. Nobody seems too eager to be selling off running backs right now, and I think that is a horrible
It's really a bad decision.
misstep by a lot of people right now, and I think they should consider selling off running backs, because a healthy amount of the league is, though productive, nearing that 26-year, or close to being 26 years old. So as much as you may have held them since their rookie year, maybe smart to start getting rid of some of them.
All right, Bill. Any additional thoughts other than you don't hate it?
I lose $1.3 million in cap space, but generally speaking,
I did the math backwards on that.
that's okay. That's okay. No, I don't hate it. The one thing that I think is, interesting about this is you're basically taking an older player on both sides. I mean, depending on how you view TJ Watt and his age, like not really old, but
he can be productive for another decade. So I don't really view him as the aging asset. I view Connor on your side as the aging asset.
Yeah, Connor's got this year, and that's probably it. And Pollard has the future.
I mean, in all honesty, like the quote unquote young assets in this are not spry chickens by any stretch of the imagination.
They're not at all.
What is Pollard going to be a starter for 2-3 more years, like tops?
Probably through his contract that he has with the league.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, he'll probably be productive and like add value for like another 5 to 6 years, but like the unquestioned, like I'm pretty sure he's getting 285 touches a year at least. That's only going to happen for a few more years, and then people are going to look at him as an aging asset.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't hate it.
So I will say there was a little bit more that like I was digging into, and there was something where I wanted you to send one of your not Bosa but expensive defensive ends and swap it with Devin Bush, but it would be too much money for you getting back. But I think there's an avenue with that where everybody ends up happy. It just has to be like, can you find another $11 million to go back to him in quality assets?
Probably not. It's like generally speaking, probably not.
Right. But I do see there being an avenue that way of like, kind of mixing the value of Pollard even more into a trade to where it doesn't necessarily feel like you're trading all this value on offense for all this value on defense.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't hate it at all. The worst part about it is the cap loss. But I mean, you add a player, or you add a different cap swap of some kind on top of it, and you're still good to go. Yeah, that's it. That's interesting.
Cool. All right. I guess I have to do some work around here then. It's also a tough one to follow because that's a fairly spicy one with some pretty good assets. We'll we'll go. I'll start from the top here. Probably one of my middle trades here, not my completely off the wall one, but both sides will probably say no anyway. Well, we talked about sort of where teams are in each of the divisions that are really competitive and what they should be doing this year. I think I was the lone voice in the room that said, "Hey, maybe Steelers should, try and make a playoff push and stay with it because no one's falling off anytime soon." Where the rest of the voices in the room were saying, "No, just bump it back one more year and position yourself to really go for it next year." So I was looking at the Steelers and said, if I was to do something like that, is there a team that makes a lot of sense for me to go make a deal with? And I think that's the Falcons. So if, say, the Falcons, for example, say, "Hey, I'd like my starting quarterback not to cost $42 million, especially if he's going to start the year on the pup," which every indication looks like that's where Kyler is going to start. Deal I'm talking about here would be Kyler Murray and Tyree Wilson from the Falcons going to the Steelers for Mac Jones, Zonovan Knight, Sutton, Cam Hayward, and Fred Warner. So I'm thinking I probably would need to find maybe another asset to go from the Falcons. Go from the Steelers to the Falcons in this. Couldn't find one off the top of my head here, but if you look at what the Falcons will be getting there, they'd be getting a cheap, cost-controlled starting quarterback in Mac. He's not going to blow the doors off of anybody, but teams have won with worse quarterbacks than Mac. Zonovan Knight is a one-year flyer that you either hit on this year or you cut and you find yourself $7 million of cap space. Really, I know there's some hate on Cortland Sutton right now, but I think Russell Wilson renaissance, he bounces back and he really can score probably 6 to 8 weeks of wide receiver 2 or better in this. Considering the depth he has, that's not a bad thing to add. Cam Hayward and Fred Warner, top level stats on defense. If there's a weak part of the Falcons, it's the defense. Even though that's gotten a lot better over the last couple of years, it just overall raises the ceiling for the Falcons and puts him on a better path to compete this year. And you move off Kyler and you move off Tyree. The Tyree, to me, I think is going to need a year before the Raiders really figure out how to use him in the rotation. And Kyler, look, the Cardinals are going to be bad. They're going to have that first pick next year, between theirs or the Texans pick. So the question is, if you've got the first pick and you've got Caleb Williams sitting there in the face, do you move Kyler or do you move Caleb in that situation? And if you're really in a position of rebuilding like the Cardinals are, I think you move Kyler. So, I mean, he's got the young quarterback, top 10, upside. It makes sense for Steelers to roll the dice on for a bunch of pieces that would help him score points this year, but not necessarily be foundational pieces for the long run. In the meantime, Steelers kind of pushes things back 1 year, improves their pick, adds a potential franchise quarterback that he can potentially renegotiate depending on how many games he plays, and add a good young defender in Tyree Wilson.
I like it.
Yeah. Does that put
I-
Falcons over the roster space limit?
He'd have to jump through some hurdles to get that done. Either way, I commend Mike for trading the most valuable, price-wise, most valuable asset in the league.
Yeah.
Most expensive asset in the league, not most valuable. I'm sorry.
I guess that makes sense. Well, I'll trade the most valuable asset in the league later in another deal, but
Okay.
nonetheless, I've got that coming up here. Chris, you actually with us this time, or
Hopefully.
there we go.
I was trying to join from my phone earlier, and it did not like it.
That'll learn you from doing that. So, all right, the 3 completely off the wall trades we've had so far, Chris. Just to recap for you, we had an idea of a Dolphins and Ravens trade of Devin Singletary and Ernest Jones for Zach Ertz and Dietrich Wise.
Okay.
We had a Broncos and Bills trade, a Bill with the Bills trade of James Conner and TJ Watt for Tony Pollard and Cam Jordan.
Okay.
And then the one I just threw out there was a Steelers-Falcons swap of Kyler and Tyree Wilson from the Falcons for Mac Jones, Zonovan Knight, Cortland Sutton, Cam Hayward, and Fred Warner.
Oh, that was fun. That one's fun.
All right. Yep. So I know that you were kind of not sure if you're going to be able to join for how long. Did you put together any fake trades on this, or should we go back to here?
I have had no time to do anything other than work, so I'm joining as an actively participating audience member tonight, not as somebody that has a plan.
Well, that's how most of us like to play in this league anyway. So, nonetheless, we'll kick it back to Bill here and see what else he's thinking in terms of potential deals out there.
Give me 1 second. I'm working on seeing if this fits. So RJ, if you have one,
Yeah, I got one.
do your
I'll
thing.
pick it up. All right. So who says no to this other than the people trading me assets? Because they probably would. So we just had a running back that newly resolved legal troubles. We know he's not going to jail for a decade. No, I don't think that was actually in question. But why wouldn't Browns want to capitalize on all this good news with Alvin Kamara? Now, I mean, he's not Alvin Kamara of a few years ago, but you can still get something for him. So why not trade him to the current champion for Damian Harris, Devontae Parker, and a first-round pick? You swap starting running backs.
Damian Harris,
for-
Devontae Parker.
You get a starting wide receiver, and you get a first-round pick to play with. Yeah, it's in 25, but as long as you can be patient.
I mean, that's kind of exactly what Bucks was trying to do on their block, and Browns is saying they'd like to pick up a receiver. Monte is probably not who they're thinking about, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
Devon-
that's fun. That's fun.
yeah. And it's not Bucks isn't like losing anything realistically at wide receiver. He still has Pittman, he still has Higgins, he still has that gamble on Mike Thomas. Yes, this would be his RB2, but he wants to figure that out and he wants to be able to like sit it and forget it at that position. So nothing wrong with that. Slight upgrade for him. And if I'm not mistaken, Bucks is asking for an upgrade at running back.
And wants to move picks to do it.
He is definitely in the market for a running back based on my inbox.
Well, I have us crowdfunding this and you trading Bijan for all of the fifth-round picks next year.
So, with that lead in, I'll go ahead and go next here, and then we'll kick it to Bill after that. Because again, we'll like you introduced it, RJ. Here's a fun deal that everyone would do except for the two teams involved. So, Chris just had a lot of fun this past draft season.
Yes, I have.
Putting them one-on-one on the block, listening to offers, rejecting offers, seeing how many times you can type Bijan into a single line over and over again. I'm surprised he didn't try and break the comments. Granted, considering some of the things that old Jets did on that, I think I'm giving Jeremy a little bit of flashback and PTSD. But if there's one thing that Chris has not shied away from in the past, it's moving a dynamic running back for better stability at the quarterback position, plus other shiny things. So he had to pay a very handsome price during the draft to get Will Levis as the handcuff to Ryan Tannehill. But considering it sounds like Malik Willis is ahead of Will Levis right now, according to camp rumors, which should always be listened to and believed, I could see Chris saying, all right, I had my fun, but let's maximize all the hype of the fact that Bijan Robinson is apparently the number one dynasty asset right now and get a bunch of fun shit back. So, Chris packages his 2 Tennessee quarterbacks, his freshly minted 101, and Jalen Phillips, and sends him to the NFC East for Trevor Lawrence, Cam Akers, Foster Moreau, and Micah Parsons.
Repeat that for me.
Tannehill, Levis, Bijan, Jalen Phillips, Trevor Lawrence, Cam Akers, Foster Moreau, and Micah Parsons.
I really
love
love
that.
that so much. I love that a lot. I don't know what's going to be harder, Chris giving up Bijan or Cowboys giving up Parsons.
Well, if it's one area my team lacks in, it's a linebacker. Great.
He does become a defensive end next year.
Yeah, so does half my crew. Oh man, that's a fun sounding one.
That is fun. That is very fun. That's really good.
I thought you were gonna put yourself on the other side, Mike, with CMC and Kirk and Garrett and a whole slew of options.
So one of the things that we talked about before we started, Chris, was if I was going to suggest a deal like that and I thought it was fair and something I wanted to do, I would probably just make the offer instead of
Mhm.
and you know I would. So
That's an interesting idea.
that's Chris's language. You're saying absolutely not. No, never.
No, it's not. It's not a hard no. It really comes down to like with how fun it is. I think that entire thing hinges on the opinion of Akers for that whole deal to work.
Yeah.
But it's a fun idea. I mean, Mike. It's Micah Parsons that makes it fun. That is. Yeah.
I figured,
Especially when considering.
and again, I'm sure later on in chat we'll see something from Cowboys saying, "LOL, Vikings trying to get me to trade Micah Parsons." Absolutely not, or something to that regard. I mean, the fun of drafting Bijan 101 was everything that Chris has done so far. It was acquiring the 101 for Justin Herbert, and then fending off 5 months of offers.
I should go back and count up how many offers came through in that time. It was a lot.
I bet.
It was a lot.
All right.
But the other half of the fun is watching them play. I haven't even got to experience. Like, what's the fun of getting it, drafting them, and then moving them before the year starts? Like, I at least need week 1. Like, if he puts up 9 points or less in week 1, he's got to go. Like instant move. I'm down on him. We're selling.
It's one of those where literally people are ranking him as the number one dynasty asset right now. He has not played a dime in the league, a down in the league, and he's apparently already in single quarterback, the 101. So it's kind of like, wait, if that's literally where we are and he hasn't played it down, there's kind of, from a certain point of view, no upside to the player. It's to meet the value you have to invest at this point to get him. He has to be the best, most valuable player in Dynasty.
Yeah.
Yep. Remember that for everyone making offers.
Just because you said that, the Giants just offered you Brandon Cooks again.
Here it comes.
Oh man!
All right, Bill, you got to follow some of these ones here. How'd your math go?
Okay, so my math went fine, but this is a two-parter. This is between 3 teams. So the first move of this is between Dolphins and all these deals are going to be between the Dolphins and somebody else apparently tonight. So the Dolphins and Titans. The Titans is involved because the Titans has Miami's first next year. And again, this is a two-parter. So the first part is giving Titans Brian Burns and getting their first back. Then you follow that up and you go to the 49ers and you get back Aiden Hutchinson, Joe Mixon, Kendre Miller, second and thirds in 24, first, second, and third in 25 for Hurts and Singletary. The Niners needs a quarterback so bad. It's like the only piece he's missing. And
besides the whole team, but okay.
Well, no, it's not his whole team. I mean, he has plenty of pieces, but it's his whole future, basically.
So what's 49ers giving up for Hurts?
Hutchinson, Mixon, who may not play at all this year because he may not take a pay cut. Kendre Miller, second and third next year because he doesn't have a first next year, and a first, second, and third in 25, and he gets back Hurts and Devin Singletary. And it allows Dolphins to do whatever he wants as far as tanking, not tanking, whatever. But the bigger thing for this is the Dolphins doesn't have to worry about a potential holdout and like a $50 or $60 million contract for that dude.
I would want way more for Hurts than that.
Well, he's turned down way more than that. I'm just saying we're having fun.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It was so for Hurts and Singletary, it was Mixon, Miller,
Hutchinson,
and
all picks in the first, second, and third rounds.
Might as well just say all picks.
Yeah, pretty. Yeah, I mean, you can throw all picks in there if you want. Some people value their 4s and 5s, though. You never know. It's a lot for basically one guy.
That'd be fun.
You know, I know he's talked about moving Hurts before. You know, he's passed on a lot of offers and he's expressed regret for not moving sooner. But, you know, that contract is coming due. The only way he avoids that bell is if he gets hurt.
well, let me think about this for a second. So let's think about who's got the top quarterbacks in the league. So Mahomes is in the AFC. Allen's in the NFC. Hurts is obviously the AFC here, moving to the NFC. I like Lawrence a lot. So Burrow's in the NFC. Lawrence is in the NFC.
Jalen's going to be a top 3 quarterback regardless of division or regardless of conference.
Unless he gets hurt.
Right, unless he gets hurt.
Well, actually, never mind. It's point per game. So injury probably wouldn't impact him. But, I mean, there's almost a benefit to him being in the NFC with Burrow, with Allen. Again, if another one of these quarterbacks gets hot, there's a non-zero chance that he's not a top 3 quarterback in his conference. Now, that's a long shot, but, you know, there was a point last year where it was like, okay, take Hurts in a first and go get Lamar Jackson for him or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good deal. So it's interesting. Plus, again, it helped the 49ers had trouble with some of the draft picks too. So it's almost like go the Rams, fuck them kids, and move all those picks for, you know, the best asset you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm with RJ. I probably want way more, but it's a fun concept.
Or maybe I use Bijan to go after Hurts. And I'm
Do it.
involved in
You
the
won't.
Dolphins
Yeah,
trade.
he won't do it, but good luck.
That will be excellent.
Amon-Ra St. Brown and Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, you'd have to add AFC.
Jalen Hurts.
please.
Oh man, that
You probably have to give up Hawk in that deal too.
No, that would
No.
at least as the Hurts owner, that would be the dream scenario. and I think that's like the most you could ever ask is like top 5 and young wide receiver.
I don't
asset
think I
and a
could.
running back.
I don't think I could do Amon Ra with it. I could probably see myself doing Bijan and Brown.
Ooh.
You
Well,
would-
Dolphins,
you know
there you
what,
go.
though? You would
I-
actually, you would
like-
actually have to give back Levis probably.
Well,
You don't need him at that point.
Whatever. who
no,
gives a-
I don't need him at that point, but I'm not gonna just give him back.
Yeah, he's a good
Yeah.
asset to have.
Yeah. We'll just
Like,
give
he's
I'm
gonna
just gonna
appreciate
toss-
the value.
Toss people away.
Yeah, but he has picks. You know, he can give up picks back.
Or other players.
He also could use a defensive end, and I know you have a couple of those.
See, that's what we need to do here. Just move into a 4-way trade and have combine what I had earlier, leaving from Bengals, and then they're getting Hurts and other stuff back instead. This is let's make the 4-way trades happen here, people. All right. Let's see. We're not going in any particular order here.
No, I'm gonna keep running with this. What if it was? That's like shoot for the sky, like Bijan, Amon Ra, the Titans QBs. So what's that? 4 assets
That's 4
Yeah.
assets.
for Hurts. I want Barkley back if I'm giving up my QB stack along with Amon Ra and Barkley and Hurts for those 4.
And
Do I add
Hawk.
on my side? Hawk goes over. and-
No, I'm. That was just.
That would be the
probably.
response from Dolphins.
I don't even know that. I probably don't know if it's Hawk. I bet you could get away with like your second and your 2 3s.
May as well just give him Hendrickson at that point.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or my good defensive end. I could give him Trey.
I mean, if there's one that you feel you could get rid of without like being too broken up about, then yeah.
I can always replace a defensive end.
That would just be fun.
It-
Hurts
it-
Barkley for Tannehill, Levis, Bijan, Amon Ra, and Hawkinson.
Like if he literally finally made a deal for Hurts this far down the line.
Yeah.
I
I'm
don't
all
think
for
I could. I
that.
don't think I could put Hawk in there. I could do
Yeah,
a
no,
defensive
no.
ender picks, but
Yeah.
like that would be that'd be fun. Like it's terrifying, but in a very fun way.
Yeah.
Right.
What did I say? If you like a deal and you're the owner, put it in an offer.
Make it happen. Can't wait until 45 minutes from now when he's processing it.
I gotta do more calls later tonight, so I don't have a lot of time to debate my.
That's why you just
So don't debate it. Just do it.
just send it and close my. I haven't looked at contracts or anything. I'm like, I just assume it works. Oh, he's got tons of space. This would be
Yeah. you impulse send that.
fine.
See what happens.
I've spent 5 months building this, and now we're like, yeah, 10 minutes. Let's go.
Fuck it. Tear it down.
Right. Tear it all down.
Oh my god. James, what do you think? Should we see him YOLO?
I just no, I wouldn't. I'm not that big of a fan of giving up everything for Hurts. I love the contract, I love everything, but with all the rules in place, all it takes is one bad spin, and all of a sudden you have to pay the dude.
Fair.
You guys know.
So that comes into effect. That'd be next off season. That would come into
Offseason
effect.
after that. If he Pro Bowls the next 2 years, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, because you can't ever extend, and then you drop into the
But again, the other aspect of this is he Pro Bowl the next 2 years at $1.5 million.
I just couldn't remember when our holdout odds came into effect because he would drop to 2 years remaining, and I think that puts him as eligible for a
Yeah, I think he
holdout.
might be eligible after this year.
That's
Yeah.
what I thought.
See what you do is you make that trade, and then in the off season,
I changed
just-
the rules.
when I decide I don't like any of the rookie QBs, I just trade you all my picks for him.
Holdouts. Let me look
I
here.
mean,
2 years or fewer remaining, and
That's the other deal that we could talk about. RJ gives all his first to go get Jalen Hurts, and then he just turns around the tank and goes in with Hurts and Dotson.
would you rather give your picks for Hertz or for Bijan if you had to go after just one of them?
Hurts.
Obviously different
Hurts.
values, but if you had to go for one,
Yeah. If it's like you have to give up all of your picks for Hurts or half of them for Bijan, I'm taking the all and just taking Hurts.
taking all. Interesting.
I have I'll just pay him whatever and have a longer window to try to build a team around him.
Right.
Than hope to cobble together a team in like the 6-year window that I have Bijan.
Yep. All right. Well, that was fun.
Yeah, it's interesting because I mean, I think when Bill did this for Mahomes or Jags did that or things like that, it was kind of a, well, why are you getting the quarterback first and not building the team? But I mean, if he's only 1.5 million, then there's some optionality there. So, all right, all right. I'll throw my third one out first, and then we'll throw it around the horn. Repeating some of the pieces that have been talked about already, but different destinations. Looking at the 49ers, looking at the need for a quarterback there, and looking for the need to get creative with a team that probably wants to wait another year before really putting pieces into motion, maybe a year behind kind of where the Seahawks are, the Saints. So if the Saints have Brock Purdy and Trey Lance, you probably have the starter for the 49ers. The 49ers is a big 49ers fan. Offering Purdy and Trey Lance and getting back Tom Brady and, you know, the contract that if he comes back could be useful, but otherwise it's just 1.5 million at dead cap. Andy Dalton, just in case Mini-Me gets hurt. Kendra Miller, Rondell Moore, his 24 second and his 25 first from the 49ers. So it's Brock Purdy and Trey Lance for Tom Brady, Andy Dalton, Kendra Miller, Rondell Moore, the 49ers 25 or second and the 49ers 25 first.
That wouldn't be enough for me, the Saints, to be honest.
Well, I mean, I'm taking into account here a couple of things. One, Purdy's going to get expensive because he's either going to need to be franchised or, basically he's going to need to be franchised. So he's going to go from really economical to really expensive. And Trey Lance's range of outcomes is continuing to tick down by the day.
Yeah, but, Saints also has all the cap in the world, especially with all the 1 years he has under his belt. So you just sit on Purdy, see if Purdy's the real deal. If you don't want to pay him, you're still going to find someone who's willing to give you something for him. If Trey Lance steps in, then you get the better value contract. So you don't really have to do anything. And your team isn't bad enough all in total, I feel, to not win a couple of games. So you're not going to get the first or second pick with how hard teams are going to be tanking this year. And if you don't have the first or second, you're not getting Williams or May. And I don't know if I really want to be in the fight for the third QB.
Or you just take Marvin Harrison there.
You could. But, he also just took, a couple of guys. I would have to have a more enticing trade than that. It's just not enough for me.
Interesting. Okay. All right, RJ, you have a third one?
Yeah, I got a couple more. You want another running back one? You want a quarterback one? Or do you want a wide receiver one?
Whatever's the spiciest. Let's keep the temperature high.
I feel like this is the one where people would be like, no, you're a lunatic. So it is Mike moving Kirk Cousins and Luke Musgraves potentially to the Jets for Jimmy G, Juwan Johnson, and 3 second-round picks. Jets gets a little bit more stable at quarterback, especially for this season.
Has Jimmy passed a physical yet?
We don't know.
Okay.
And the tight ends are mostly just to make the cap work, but unfortunately, because you have a rookie tight end that has a lot of upside, you probably have to add some of those second round picks. So that's where it gets a little bit crazy. Initially, it was just Jimmy G, Juwan Johnson, and a second round pick for Kirk Cousins, which I feel like for Jets is a better use of their assets. But you need a tight end also. And Vikings just conveniently has one, like I said, with upside. So, pay 2 second round picks, get that guy too.
It's kind of fun.
And then if CJ Stroud actually does pop, you have two consistent quarterbacks. You can end up moving Kirk Cousins in the season for, similar assets, maybe even a little bit more. But instead of gambling on two quarterbacks right now, and one not living up to their standards and the other one failing miserably in a new offense, you could just get a super consistent one.
Yeah.
Doesn't he have a third QB that's probably going to start though?
Jacoby Brissett.
Okay.
I mean, yeah,
he'll get a couple of games here and there probably, but
right.
Yeah.
I like to razz whoever is a supporter of Sam Howell, but for the most part, Sam Howell is the starter there. I do expect Jacoby to get either some nods early in the season or maybe because Howell's banged up. But I don't see him as a season long. I don't see him as an asset that you actually go, yeah, I could go in with 2 question marks at quarterback because I have this smaller question mark as my third quarterback.
Yeah, no, I definitely get it. Yeah, Sam Howell's one of those guys that he runs a little bit more than he should, and he isn't quite the most mobile. I could easily see him miss a couple of games for a concussion or just whatever. So, but yeah. That's definitely an interesting one.
Yeah, I'd probably say no to that just because, again, I really like Musgrave's upside. I think he was a first-round pick this year, a late first, but and Juwan Johnson, I think, was a franchise, either restricted or something like that. It would have taken a second or third to get him. So going from Kirk Cousins to Jimmy G, going from Musgrave to Juwan Johnson and only getting 2 or 3 seconds back, I don't think that quite does it for me. It's a fun concept, and I'd be lying if I hadn't poked around Jets to say, is there an offer there? So it's definitely a framework that I've been exploring.
Yeah, like I said, drop Musgraves because he is a strange value that I don't think is actually worth it for anybody to purchase right now.
Yep.
But for the sake of making it sound like a complete trade, I just threw him in.
Yeah. Again, I like I said, I'm exploring a similar framework, so you're dead on. All right. James, did you prepare any trades or?
I didn't necessarily prepare one, but I do have kind of an idea I've been wondering. Brandon, Mr. Giants in here. I know he's got Brandon Cooks. He's got him on his trade bait. He's looking for an upgrade or whatever. If you go and, we've been talking about Miami. That division isn't very good. Essentially, anyone could win it in there. What if he took a Devin White and was able to flip Devin White for a future late first or something like an early to mid second? Could he then take that and flip that to the Giants and get Brandon Cooks to do something with his receiving core?
So
The Dolphins.
3-team trade, we just don't know what the third team is.
Yeah.
So find a first or second and flip that for Brandon Cooks. I mean, he could just take a second that he already has.
I mean,
but I don't think a late second would get Giants to trade B Cooks. But if he could get a late first or a early second, then maybe a little sweetener on top of that, which is something he should already have.
Isn't Giants in the market for a linebacker? So you could just send him White in a late second for Cooks and maybe a third back or something of that nature.
I don't think Brandon has the cap space for that.
Oh, okay.
But he could definitely get rid of Cooks, get the $8 or $9 million off the Bucks, and use that draft capital somewhere else.
Yeah,
I do like the frame of that. I do think there is something that could be explored, just because they do match up in the sense of they're both looking for what either would be trying to get rid of.
Yeah, and the Dolphins have plenty of linebackers.
Mhm.
So it makes sense for him to move off of one, probably one of the bigger names like the White, to try to get something substantial to fix his offense a little bit.
Well, actually, that would fit. It looks like so. White is just under 16 million, with 4 years remaining, and Giants has we'll be giving up Cooks there, who is a 7.5 and has 9.8 left. So he'd be down to about 1.3 million in cap space. Is years going to be the issue here? Okay, yeah, he's got to lose a year someplace. So he throws in Jordan Phillips.
Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Brandon Cooks and Jordan Phillips for Devin White.
Yeah.
There we go. I like it. All right, Bill, you got another one for me?
No, I don't. Not right now. I'm trying to like search last minute, but I'm not seeing anything. I think RJ has more though.
Yep.
Yeah, I got some more.
Yep, I'll throw an idea out there as well. It's less well formed than some of the others, but general concept. Bills has been trying to move pieces to add depth. He's not deep but solid at a couple positions, but it's a question of the best way for him to utilize cap space that's on his team right now is probably to move Landry's dead contract with some picks and add some upside players. So again, back in the conversation of deals that aren't getting done probably for this, but a fun concept. Bills moving Landry, their 24 second and their 24 third for Josh Palmer and Amari Rogers.
Okay, Amari Rogers a third.
No, Amari Rogers and Josh Palmer for Jarvis Landry a second and a third.
Don't they all have no value? Like I feel
You've got
like Palmer lost his job.
Well, you get added value next year because the Chargers are paying too much to Keenan and Mike to keep them both, and they have outs on, I'm pretty sure, both of them next year. So one of them will more than likely be gone, especially when you go out and spend a first on Johnston, and you have Palmer on the wing too. So. And I don't even know what Landry's going to do. Landry's one of those guys where I think it might just be done.
Yeah, I mean, I'm treating him as a dead contract here, but for a team like the Lions, hey, just let him sit there. I'm not using the space anywhere. So it's depth behind Bateman for Bills. But again, both are probably not going to do better than a wide receiver 2 or 3 for you this year in certain weeks.
Yeah, the draft really hurt him with Bateman being essentially his wide receiver 1 and seeing Zay Flowers go there and then having Odell go there. And especially with all Bateman's injuries he's been having, at least his target share has dropped fairly immensely.
I had to get the link for the chat. It's funny. Somehow 2 people are able to find the pod and be watching, even though I didn't post the link anywhere. But people are just, I guess, subscribers. Well, that's what we do. We've got good fans here. All right. Moving on to the better prepared team here. RJ, what else do you have?
I got the Giants getting the upgrade that they wanted at running back, sending Rashad Penny, Brandon Cooks, and a first-round pick to the Chargers for Nick Chubb.
Huh.
I don't hate that.
Because I'd give him Penny and Mostert the two most injury volatile backs. that'd be a hard. I'd have a hard time waking up on game day.
Hey, I mean, it's not the most ideal, but he gets a first round pick. He gets another wide receiver because that wide receiver core is,
It's awful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if it depends also how you feel about the 49ers room and whether, Ayuk is the versus Debo and all that crap. So, yeah.
So then Chargers would just be like every other pretty decent team in the league and not have a good running back, but they'd have a solid tight end and a solid wide receiver core. And then, hopefully you can take that first round pick and buy whatever running backs, whatever backup running back or assumed backup running back is popping off for this season.
At the same time, though, he doesn't really have a DN. That team needs that. It's been a little stagnant for a little while. That Chargers team has, and it's.
I can't go
needs to
shopping
grow.
for everything.
I know. I know.
Okay.
All right. Any other ones, RJ, or should we shift over to the trades that have already happened?
I mean, I could dig around and find some more.
Yeah, I got one.
All right, go ahead, Bill.
Okay, so this will be Washington and Arizona. So I'm not really sure what Washington wants to do, but in the event that he does decide to sell pieces, Tyreek Hill to the Cardinals for Thornton, Hooper, and a first in 2025.
Okay, so it's Tyreek Hill for what again?
Ty Thornton,
Okay.
Austin Hooper, and a 25 first.
No, yeah, you're low.
On which side?
If I'm Cardinals and if I'm Commanders and I'm getting
You're getting the first and the two players.
I might do that for Mike Evans, something closer to that ballpark, but I don't think I do it for Tyreek.
yeah, maybe
Maybe
a second short.
Yeah, because Tyreek almost had 2,000-yard season last year with kind of a weird bouncy offense, and Mike Evans is gonna go from having Jameis, who wasn't good but could really sling it, to having Tom Brady, to now having either Baker or Kyle Trask, and that's not very promising from a fantasy standpoint, especially with all the other mouths they have to feed in Tampa.
I mean, I think all three of those assets probably stay in the league longer than Tyreek Hill, wildly enough.
He's only got a year or two.
Conveniently, Arizona has enough picks to kind of cover the gap if you feel that's slightly not enough. But I think it's on the right idea of probably what Washington wants to do. And, there's not a lot of other teams that can just get rid of a halfway decent tight end and not think twice about it. And I don't know. I'm a Pats fan, so I like Tyquan Thornton. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, though, where you just think about it from more of a fantasy perspective. I don't think the Pats had any relevant wide receivers essentially all year last year and essentially the year before. Like, you could put Myers as a flex. He's really good in our league because he's so cheap, but they don't have a lot of point scores, and it's kind of hard to invest in a guy like Thornton and an offense like that.
Well, I mean, not too many people are beating down Washington's door for a 29-year-old, $23 million wide receiver.
Yeah, and he's already said he plans on retiring at the end of his contract. So, yeah.
So,
but
he's quickly, his value is diminishing. So I don't necessarily know.
Well, it's one of those where you think Giants could do it, though, right? If you were Brandon, you could take like Gregory Rousseau first, maybe like B. Cooks or something else he could break down, and some other kind of asset would. And if you can just find a way to make the cap work, all of a sudden you have A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hill. That's the rest of the team.
That's fantastic for the team that's acquiring Tyreek Hill, but why, if you're getting rid of Tyreek Hill, why do you want to jump through all those hurdles of making the cap work? You go and find somebody, like a Cardinals, where you just not dump it on him, but he has $13 million to work with. You don't have to there's not much of an effort that needs to be made.
Well, because if you're the Commanders, you're literally on the edge of either being good or trash. Because
Right. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. So like if you're on the verge of, or if you're a middling team like that where you could go either way, like why are you going to go do the legwork for another team? Like just
well, it's probably the best. I'm just saying I would have traded it to the Giants and found a way to make the cap work on my end. He's got enough stuff he can get rid of and just
Also-
eat cap anyway.
Also, we've yet to even address that conundrum of like trading in the NFC East means everything's at a 300% premium.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that counteracts because both of them are overcharging each other, but that would be a pain in the ass.
Well, I think the Commander's big thing is he cannot remotely get his pick back, so he's got to either be willing to be middle or just accept the fact that he's gonna just be a bad team and give somebody a top 10 pick.
I don't think he gives someone a top 10 pick.
If
His
he's-
offense is like if Tua stays healthy, he's not giving someone a top 10 pick. If Tua's out and he has other injuries, like that defense isn't great, but he's got enough people that make a few points here and there. And he does have the offense as long as Dalvin signs somewhere to do something.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a middle team, right? Like that's what we've all kind of agreed to, depending on certain players. So I mean, we'll see what he does, but I think he likes to big name hunt, just like I do. So I think it's he'd rather get a big name back for a big name, but I like the idea generally.
I do too.
No more fake trades. Let's do the trades that happened.
Fine. All right. All right. We're going to. Oh, there we go. Trades that happened. Okay.
Is it the Devontae Parker and onward, or did we talk about the Parker trade already?
I don't think we talked about the Parker trade. So there's some claims here, so we'll kind of skip over those quickly. But so yeah, the Devontae Parker sweepstakes, giving up Parker and the Eagles' fourth next year for Jonathan Harris, Tavarius Moore, and the Tampa Bay third. So, I mean, a third to a fourth, probably a late third to a fourth, and a safety. I like it. I mean, it's cheap, some upside, and Parker gets moved for a pick upgrade, which you got to think that the Seahawks like.
Yeah, that's solid value for Parker. I mean, I was kind of shocked by that extension in real life, so I do wonder like how productive he's going to be. So
Yeah.
I like that a competitive team took the gamble on it.
Yeah, I so like a little bit, behind the curtain here. I asked Seahawks about Parker, and that's what spurred the public ask. He was like, "I'm not just going to give him up. I'm going to make sure I get the best offer." And I offered like a fourth or maybe a third at best, and I wasn't going to add to it. And this is interesting. I don't hate it, but I don't love it.
I think it looks a lot better for Bucks now they got an extension because it shows some kind of level of commitment past this year, and I didn't think that was really going to be there. So,
So like the fun part of the timing of that is I didn't ask about it until he got the extension announced, and that's probably what prompted the public sweepstakes.
All right. Moving right along here, we've got what looks to be a steal of Servassier Dennis. That's a fantastic name. I think Seahawks said he was out of range, and Browns took advantage. Then we've got a running back swap: Corey Clement and a Broncos fourth for James Robinson, and Philly getting their fourth back this year. I
Embrace the tank.
kind of love it for you, RJ.
Thank you. I wanted my pick back, and I just wanted to find a way to make it slightly easier on Buck's cap. And I don't know. I know James Robinson's kind of damaged goods right now, but he's done it in the league before, so I'll hold on to him for a year or two and take that chance on he comes back to form after he's fully healthy.
Yeah, I mean he'll land somewhere. It's just a matter of when.
Yep. And like Arizona has been completely lazy on picking up running backs, so Corey Clement just is the running back 2 there, I believe. Which like I don't know how valuable that is. Like, either way, is the change of pace back, and I don't know, for minimum on a 1-year deal, like that gives Bucks some type of potential or production to hope for.
Mm-hmm.
You should score points.
Yep.
Speaking of Arizona running backs, Bill,
Yeah.
Malik Davis, Rashid Shaheed, Brandon Fico, Demario Davis, your 25 first, your 25 third for James Conner, Adam Thielen, Rashawn Evans, and the out for the season Chuck Clark.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
No, it's the price you have to pay to get running back 1. That I've been searching for a running back all off season. Nobody wants to sell them. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised that Ravens was open to it, given that he's also a contending team. But no, I mean, I look at it like this. So Shaheed and Davis are downgrades to Thielen and Connor, regardless of age. Just their roles. Connor and Thielen are better. Fehoko was just a cap dump. Demario Davis and the picks were just the excess that needed to be taken care of. And I offered to take back Chuck Clark to make cap work, knowing that I can eventually get him put on IR, which I'm surprised he's not IR eligible already. And then Evans, he wasn't the guy I wanted, but he will sign somewhere before training camp, and he'll have a role. It's just a matter of where and what that role is. But I'm not worried about it. It's just one of those things of like it's an overpay because of Demario Davis and the picks being involved, but it's worth it to me to have my offense.
RJ, James, anything you guys want to add?
My big question is, where do we actually think James Conner's going to finish this year?
He's been
on our base scale. Yeah, I get that, but he's also had Kyler Murray as a quarterback, and you don't have Kyler for a good chunk of the year. They could be doing bad. There's already the fandom in Arizona wants them to tank and just take Caleb and kick Kyler out. So I don't know. And Conner's, he's had essentially health concerns, mostly coming from cancer and everything else. I don't see him as that great of a talent. It's just been more opportunities over talent for him, in my opinion. But
opportunity matters, though. Like he's one of the very few running backs that has no competition.
I really like Keontae Ingram. That's there. So,
My big thing here is if you're moving, so no team is without risk. That's a misnomer and not what I'm implying here.
Sure.
It's the baked in fact of your quarterback room, Bill, is all of those players could be looking for jobs next year. The baked in fact of your receiver room is everyone not named Jamar Chase. I guess Deontay as well.
I was going to say, how dare you?
I'm just not as high on him at this point after all of the drops and everything like that. And I think what Pittsburgh's offense is trying to do. So you're in a position where you're going into next year. You don't have a quarterback. You don't have a running back. Your receiving room is thinned out. And now you don't have your first round pick in 25.
Mhm.
And you are in a division where just take it from experience. Goose is always going to be good. So you're going to be fighting best case for your division title every single year, if not trying to get that wild card. The AFC is brutal for that. And you're going to see up and comers and fighters and a team of that level with the Raiders and Chargers. So I understand it's the price you have to pay to get a running back one.
Mhm.
If I'm giving my 25 first, the time left that Connor has, this is not the guy I'm going for that pick. I understand that's probably the price you have to pay to get him, but sometimes things are best left on the shelf.
Yeah, because if you just compare it to other recent RB deals, like, you know, Kenneth, I literally gave a first, second, a third, and a couple linebackers for. The difference in this trade is a second, a linebacker, and a little bit. And obviously, Walker's got a lot more tread on his tires than Connor has. So,
Again, in Bill's defense, another Kenneth Walker isn't available at what
yeah.
Bill has asset-wise. But the question is, you got to find something else in between, I think. All right. Looks like a taxi theft. Daquan Jones going to the Rams. Chiefs selling Chase Edmonds for Broncos fourth and Tampa Bay's fourth. Where is Chase Edmonds on that depth chart in?
He's technically RB2.
They're all unofficial at this point.
Yeah, he's the main backup at the moment based off of beat reports. But, I mean, he's also been RB2 everywhere he's been, and he's done what he's done.
I honestly, if I had to take my best guess, he's probably the third down work back between him and Connor. But if Connor actually got hurt, I would believe it'd be Keontae Ingram getting the majority of the carries there.
Chase Edmonds is in Tampa.
Oh, yeah, never mind. Yeah, with that's what, White and
That's it.
Yeah.
no, they got the Vanderbilt kid who's been there forever and somehow just clings to the roster even though he doesn't touch the ball. And, Keyshawn Vaughn.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so they just have Rashad White then?
Hey man, I'm not super high on Keyshawn Vaughn, but I don't think that much of Corey Clement either. So
You're going back and forth between two different teams here, sir.
similar names. Don't beat me up.
Yep. All right. We've got, it looks like another taxi theft. Chiefs getting Milton Williams from the Jets for nothing. Titans moving Olamide Zacchaeus for 2 fourths, one in 24 and one in 25. And here's one that I didn't get, but that happens a lot of times. Laporta and my 24 third for Isaiah Likely, Malcolm Rodriguez, and the Indy first.
He's bulking up that tight end room.
What do you mean you don't love the Colts continuing to trade away his draft picks instead of holding on to them and using them?
He's learning from the best.
What?
He's using the build method. He's over consolidating when he needs to be diversifying.
That feels like one Malcolm Rodriguez and first round pick too much for Sam Laporta and a third round pick.
I mean, you're not getting Laporta for Likely, obviously. You're going to have to add to it. Rodriguez obviously took a hit with the drafting of Campbell. I don't know how much of a hit, but he took a hit.
Did you say you value Laporta more than Likely?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should.
Like I really like Likely, but it's just the reality of it's a Lamar Jackson led passing offense, and he's stuck behind Mark Andrews.
The Mark Andrews side of that is
Like
more.
there has to be an injury for something to happen there of good value.
Yeah, I feel like Likely and Rodriguez, I feel like should put you in the realm of Laporta, or maybe it's a second for a third instead of a first for a third. But yeah, if I look at this, as what was Laporta as a draft pick this year? He was a first rounder.
He was our first tight end taken, wasn't he?
I think so, but I can't remember whether that was middle of the round or into the
I think it was 13. I think it was like 13, 14, 13. It was fairly early, too.
Laporta went 19.
Okay, never mind.
So if we're talking about Rodriguez and a first for Laporta, and then Likely for a third, like I said, it's maybe not as bad as I first thought, but I feel like if it's a 25 second instead of a 25 first, I'm on. But it just feels like a little bit too much.
A lot of it has to do with the fact that it's also the Colts sending away their 25 first.
Yeah.
Because there isn't really a running back there. Like you have Kenneth Gainwell, who I love, but they went out and bolstered that running back room, so he's never going to give you weekly points. And then you have Zeke until he signs somewhere. So,
well, I mean, the other truth of the matter here is it's the AFC South. So I would say the Jags are probably the favorite at the moment, but it's not necessarily a division where, scratching and clawing, you couldn't find yourself in contention at the trade deadline.
Yeah, and then you also just have the factor, though, that's a lot to give up for a tight end who hasn't played a snap yet.
Yep. All right, enough hate. Let's close it out. The Colts move their 25 fourth for Austin Johnson, and the Bears give Van Jefferson for Chase Brown and Jadeveon Clowney. Any major feelings on either of those?
I think Colts was just the first one to offer the fourth, because Chiefs put it in the chat. He was like, anybody want Johnson for a fourth? I think that's all that happened there. And as far as the Bears Bengals, I don't really understand why you give up Van Jefferson for nothing.
It's funny because I had Van Jefferson and I tried so hard to just get a draft pick in the range Chase Brown was drafted in, and no one would even come close to biting on it.
Van Jefferson was like 35 when he came into the league. What is he now? 40?
I think he's already 28, 29, and he's in a contract year.
He's only 26. He turns 27 in 2 weeks.
Nah, he's old.
Only 26, played like a year and a half in the league and been
Right.
injured the rest.
Yeah.
So out of curiosity, during the draft sort of recap we did, when we got to my Roschon Johnson pick, which I think is around like the 120 range or something, people were saying that they liked him, but they probably would have taken Chase Brown over him.
Yeah, I still like that pick a lot.
We haven't really even gotten into the preseason yet. We're still in training camp. And now we're
Not
saying
even there yet.
Yeah, we're saying him plus a potentially productive DN on a reasonable contract is nothing for a receiver.
Well, Chase Brown is not guaranteed to be relevant anyway. And Van Jefferson is what, the wide receiver one in LA right now? Or no, that's not right.
Cup.
Have you ever heard of this guy Cooper Kupp? He could really be
All right, that's
something this year.
so he's wide receiver 2.
Don't you disrespect Tutu Atwell like that?
He's probably number 3 in targets. Like if I honestly had to guess, I'd go Cup, I'd go their tight end, and then I'd go Van Jefferson.
Skoranek.
Yeah, and whatever Skronik does, lines up as a fullback, everything. He's weird.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a loss for Bears. It's just an unknown for Bears.
Well, the thing is, in Cincy, you have the Joe Mixon legal trouble, and then on top of that, Samaje Perine, we all saw get a significant amount of snaps last year. He's gone, and then they drafted Brown, and he's pretty easily the best backup they have there. So even at the bottom, you're hoping for Samaje Perine production this year, and then maybe you're hoping Mixon doesn't play out his whole contract
Well, the
or
Bengals
whatever.
the Bengals have made it pretty clear that they're going to cut him if he doesn't take a pay cut. So he might just be added to the long list of free agent running backs.
Well, our Bengals should cut Van Jefferson so I can pick him up.
There you go. More good advice. All right, hour and 20 minutes. So, hey, you know what? Came into this thinking, hey, we'll talk about a couple of fig trades and maybe we'll get to a half an hour. We made it an hour 20. So it's a win for everybody. Another stellar podcast. Now we'll get to the fun part here and see if we can turn some of these fake trades into real ones. So appreciate everyone tuning in. And until next time, keep the activity up and keep the moves happening.